He got into my car at 2:43 a.m. and greeted me by name. "Evening, Daniel," he said, like we'd met before. I don't have my name displayed anywhere inside the car. The rideshare app shows it on the passenger's phone, sure, but most people don't look at it. They just open the door, ask, "Daniel?" and I nod. That's it. This guy didn't ask. He slid into the back seat slowly, closed the door with both hands like he was sealing something shut, and leaned forward just enough for me to see his eyes in the rearview mirror. "Evening, Daniel," he repeated, softer. Something about the way he said it made it sound less like a greeting and more like confirmation. I forced a smile. "Hi. Marcus." That was the name on the app. No profile picture. 5-star rating. Account created this month. He didn't answer, just buckled his seatbelt. The pickup location was a closed grocery store parking lot on the edge of town. No other cars. No lights except mine. The destination was about 40 minutes away, out past the highway, near the old industrial area where warehouses sit half-abandoned and the streetlights flicker like they're tired of working. I put the car in drive. For the first 5 minutes, he didn't speak. That's not unusual. Night shift riders are either drunk, exhausted, or staring at their phones. He wasn't on his phone. He was watching me. Not constantly. Not obviously. But every time I checked the mirror, his eyes were already there. "You've been driving nights for a while," he said suddenly. It wasn't a question. "Yeah," I replied. "Pays better. You started after the accident." My fingers tightened around the steering wheel. "What accident?" He tilted his head slightly, like he was confused by my confusion. "The one 3 years ago. Rain. Intersection on Maple and 8th. You weren't at fault." My stomach dropped. I never talk about that accident. Not with passengers. Not with anyone, really. A drunk driver ran a red light and clipped my rear bumper. Nobody died. It wasn't dramatic. Just paperwork and insurance and a stiff neck for a week. "How do you know about that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. He ignored the question. "You don't like driving in heavy rain anymore," he continued. "You grip the wheel harder. Your breathing changes." There was no rain tonight. The sky was clear, but I was gripping the wheel harder now. I glanced at the app mounted on my dashboard. His name still read Marcus. Rating 5.0. No additional info. The route was steady, blue lines stretching ahead onto the highway. "You look people up before rides?" I said, forcing a laugh. "That's thorough." "I didn't have to look you up," he replied. We merged onto the highway. Almost no traffic. Just long stretches of asphalt swallowed by darkness, broken by the occasional reflective sign flashing in my headlights. "How do you know my name?" I asked finally. He leaned back in his seat. "It's your car," he said. "Your name is attached to it." "That's not what I meant." Silence. The app chimed softly, recalculating route. I glanced down. The destination had changed. Same general area. But instead of Warehouse District Block C, it now said 1187 Halstead Road. I frowned. "Hey, the address just updated. Is that correct?" No answer. I checked the mirror. He was still there. "You changed the drop-off?" I asked. "I didn't touch anything," he said. His hands were resting on his knees. I hadn't heard him move. The new address was farther out, past the industrial zone, closer to the wooded stretch where streetlights thin out and cell service starts to flicker. "I'll need to confirm changes in the app," I said. "It sometimes does that if there's a signal issue." "You can keep driving," he replied calmly. "It knows where we're going." "We're." Not I'm. We. A chill crept up my spine. The road ahead narrowed as we exited the highway. Fewer buildings. More trees. The kind of darkness that feels thick, like it's pressing against the windshield. I tapped the screen to view ride details. The profile picture was still blank, but the name had changed. It no longer said Marcus. It said Daniel. My name. I felt my pulse in my throat. "Okay," I said slowly. "I think there's a glitch. The app's showing my name as the passenger." "Is it?" he asked. I looked in the mirror again. For just a second, maybe less, I thought the back seat was empty. I blinked. He was there. Same posture. Same calm expression. "Are you feeling all right, Daniel?" he asked gently. The way he said it made my skin crawl. Not mocking. Not threatening. Just clinical. We passed a sign. Halstead Road, 2 miles. The GPS voice spoke. "In 1 mile, turn right." It didn't use the usual female tone. It sounded distorted. Slightly deeper. Almost layered, like 2 voices speaking at once. I reached for my phone to check signal bars. No service. That was impossible. I'd driven this route dozens of times. Service only dropped another 5 miles ahead. I think we need to turn around, I said. There's a system issue. You're almost there, he replied. Almost where? The trees grew denser. The headlights carved narrow tunnels through branches that leaned over the road like ribs. Who are you? I asked, unable to keep the edge out of my voice. He smiled faintly. I'm your passenger. That's not what I meant. I know. The GPS spoke again. Turn right. There was no visible road. Just darkness between two thick lines of trees. But as we got closer, I saw it. A narrow dirt path, barely wide enough for one car. The app's blue line pointed directly into it. I'm not driving in there, I said firmly. You already are, he answered. I hadn't turned the wheel, but the car was no longer aligned with the main road. It was angled slightly right, drifting. My hands were still on the steering wheel, but it felt loose, lighter, like someone else was guiding it with me. I slammed the brakes. The car screeched to a stop. Silence. No insects. No wind. No distant traffic. Just my breathing. I looked in the mirror. The back seat was empty. Completely empty. The seatbelt on the right side was still fastened. Latched. I whipped around in my seat. Nothing. Doors locked. Windows up. No movement outside. My heart pounded so hard I thought I might black out. This isn't funny, I muttered to myself. My phone buzzed in the cup holder. A notification from the rideshare app. Ride completed. Passenger dropped off. Rating submitted. I stared at the screen. 5 stars. And underneath it, thank you for the ride, Daniel. See you again soon. I slowly turned my head toward the back seat one more time. And that's when I noticed something I hadn't seen before. The indentation in the leather. As if someone was still sitting there. I froze. The faint outline in the seat looked like a shadow pressed into the leather. Not dark, exactly, but more like a memory of weight. It didn't move. It didn't breathe. It just existed. My fingers hovered over the door locks. My eyes flicked to the windows, to the rear view, to every reflective surface in the car. Nothing. No reflection. No hint of him. I tried to shake it off. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe the adrenaline was doing tricks. My hands were still trembling on the steering wheel. I needed to get out. I put the car in reverse and slowly backed onto the main road. The asphalt seemed wider, safer. The blue line on the app recalibrated. The path into the woods disappeared. Still, I couldn't stop thinking about what had just happened. Every fiber in my body screamed that this wasn't a glitch. It wasn't fatigue. Something had been there with me. Something that knew my name, my life, my fears. I tried to call my friend, someone awake at this hour, someone to just hear the sound of a human voice. The phone rang once, twice, then went straight to voicemail. No signal. Again. Not possible. I had signal just minutes ago. Now, nothing. The highway stretched out ahead, empty, quiet, except for the low hum of my engine. I glanced in the rearview mirror. The indentation was gone, but the feeling stayed. The heaviness, the sense of being followed, not by a car, not by a person, but by awareness. I took the next exit and pulled into a 24-hour diner. Neon flickered, buzzing softly. A few night shift workers glanced up, curious, but nothing more. I parked, turned off the engine, and sat there. Sweat coated my skin. My legs were stiff. My hands were still shaking. I forced myself to breathe. In, out. In, out. My phone buzzed again. Another notification. This time from my rideshare app. New message from your passenger. I hesitated. My thumb hovered over the screen. Finally, I tapped it. Nice drive tonight, Daniel. Don't forget me. No name, no profile picture. Just that one line. I bolted from the car, leaving the engine running. I ran into the diner, slamming the door behind me. The bell jingled, drawing a few glances. The air felt safer inside, fluorescent and ordinary. But when I looked back through the window, my car was empty. No passengers. No shadows. No weight on the seat. Still, I couldn't shake it. Even hours later, in my apartment, with every light on, I kept checking the corners of my room, the shadows cast by the streetlight outside. I kept hearing my name whispered in the silence, soft and deliberate, almost casual. I haven't driven nights since. I quit for a while. But sometimes, late at night, when the city is quiet and the streets are empty, I think about that ride. I think about the indentation in the leather. I think about the GPS, the path that didn't exist. And I remember that calm, soft voice in the back seat, saying things no one should know about me. And I wonder, if I ever get back behind the wheel, Will he be waiting again? Because he's always waiting. The highway never forgets. The road remembers. And some passengers are never really gone. The next morning, I barely slept. I kept replaying every detail in my mind. The way he slid into the back seat. The way he spoke, as if he already knew everything about me. Every little tick I thought I had hidden from the world was somehow exposed. And that line in the app, "Don't forget me," kept looping in my head like a distorted record. I couldn't even bring myself to open the rideshare app again. But the next night, curiosity gnawed at me. I needed to know if it had been real. I drove past the route I'd taken. Every street, every empty intersection, every flickering light. Nothing. Just normal. Calm. Silent. Ordinary. But my stomach churned. The memory of the indentation on the back seat wouldn't leave me. 3 nights later, I found myself driving again. Not for work, just driving. Trying to shake off the feeling, convince myself it was exhaustion. The city was quiet, the highways nearly empty. That's when I saw it. A car in the distance, headlights dim, moving slowly, keeping pace with me. I thought I was imagining it. Then it blinked its high beams once, twice, then fell back, maintaining the same distance. The instinctive part of me screamed to accelerate, but another part wanted to see, to understand. I turned onto a side street, hoping to lose it. It followed. Every turn I made, it adjusted. Every stoplight I obeyed, it obeyed. And then, as I merged onto the highway, I saw the faint shape inside. Not clear at first, just a shadow in the passenger seat of the other car. But there was a certainty in it, just like the ride before. Calm. Waiting. Watching. I shook my head. No, it can't be. My pulse thundered. I gripped the wheel. Sweat ran down my temple. I wanted to call someone, anyone, but my phone stayed dark. No signal. The car in the rearview mirror stayed exactly the same distance behind me. Not moving closer, not falling behind. Just there. I tried to take the next exit. My heart sank. The other car followed, smoothly, without hesitation. Then, as I passed under the flickering highway sign, it blinked. For a brief moment, I swore I saw the passenger's face. Not a reflection, not a trick of the lights. His face, pale, almost translucent, eyes locked on mine. And then he was gone. The indentation, the calm voice, the knowledge of things I'd never told anyone. Everything came rushing back. I realized I had no idea how far this could go, or what he wanted. I pulled off at a truck stop, heart hammering. No one else was around. The lights were dim. The convenience store door creaked as I entered. I tried to calm myself, buying coffee, staring at the floor. When I looked out the window, the car wasn't there. The empty lot stretched into darkness, only a single flickering street light illuminating the asphalt. Then I saw it. A shadow, just at the edge of the light. Standing still, waiting, watching. I left my coffee on the counter and ran back to my car. No keys. I had left them in the ignition. My car was gone. Not stolen. Just gone. And the empty lot behind the store? Distorted. Something about it felt wrong. Off. As if the pavement itself had shifted. I ran to the highway entrance, eyes darting across every tree line, every roadside. And then I saw the headlights. Far away at first, then closer. Moving toward me at impossible speed. I froze. The lights blinked. High beams. Low beams. High beams. And then the car slowed, merging onto the highway behind me. Exactly where I'd stopped. Exactly where it had always been. I don't remember driving home. Somehow I ended up in my driveway, keys still in hand, car exactly where I left it. But the back seat, the indentation remained. Faint, barely visible, but there, waiting. I haven't driven at night since. Not for work, not for errands, not even a short trip. The city feels safer in daylight. I don't know if he's bound to the road, or to me, or to the car itself. I only know one thing. Every time the GPS updates unexpectedly, every time the highway stretches ahead with no traffic, I hear a whisper in my mind, calm and deliberate. Daniel, don't forget me. And I know, deep down, I never will. I couldn't sleep that night. Every shadow in my apartment seemed heavier, as if it remembered the ride with him too. I kept checking my phone, the app, anything that could give me a clue, but nothing. Just the same notification glowing faintly in the corner. Don't forget me. I tried to convince myself it was a prank, some glitch in the system. But the indentation in the leather seat, the calm, deliberate voice, the knowledge of things I'd never told anyone. it wasn't a glitch. The next evening, against every instinct, I drove. Not for work, just driving. I needed to confront it, to see if it was real or if I'd lost my mind. The city was quiet, streets empty, a faint mist clinging to the asphalt. I drove past familiar landmarks, the grocery store parking lot, the old highway exit, the rusted-over bridge where streetlights didn't work. My pulse kept pace with the hum of the engine. That's when I noticed it. At first, I thought it was a trick of the fog, a car, barely visible, following at the same distance I'd seen before. But then the high beams blinked in a pattern I knew too well. 1, 2, 1, 2, and my stomach sank. It wasn't just following. It was keeping rhythm. I tried to shake it off. Maybe someone else on the road. Maybe coincidence. But the shape inside the car, pale, featureless at first, calm, waiting, made every logical explanation crumble. I gripped the steering wheel harder, eyes flicking between mirrors, dashboard, and shadows beyond the glass. I took an exit, weaving through back streets, hoping to lose it. The car followed. Every turn I made, it adjusted instantly. Every stoplight I slowed at, it slowed too. Panic started to claw at me. I considered calling someone, anyone, but my phone refused to connect. No signal, not even a bar. The road narrowed as I approached the old industrial district. Factories loomed like silent sentinels, windows dark and broken. The mist thickened. The GPS on my dashboard flickered, recalculating. The destination changed again, further into the maze of streets I barely remembered. I tried to override it, but the app wouldn't let me. Blue lines stretching endlessly into the mist. Then came the sound. At first, I thought it was the tires on wet asphalt. Then I realized it was a whisper. Soft, calm, deliberate. Daniel. My hands froze. I whipped my head around. Nothing in the back seat. Nothing outside. But the whisper came again, closer this time, like it was speaking through the air itself. My heart hammered against my ribs, every instinct screaming to escape, but my body refused to move. The headlights behind me blinked again. 1, 2, then off. Gone. I exhaled sharply, relief flooding me. But it was fleeting. From the mist, a figure appeared ahead, standing in the middle of the road. Not moving, not reacting, just waiting. I slammed the brakes, tires screeching. The car shuddered, stopped inches away from the figure. I leaned on the horn, lights flashing. Nothing. Then the figure stepped aside, vanishing into the mist as if it had never been there. I pulled over, shaking, gasping for air. Every sound was amplified. The wind in the broken windows, the distant hum of a street lamp, the faint creak of the car settling. My eyes darted constantly, expecting him to appear in the rearview mirror, to slide back into the seat, to whisper my name. But nothing moved. I drove on, cautious, eyes locked on every shadow. Then came the first incident. A stray dog darted across the road. I swerved slightly. In the rear view, I thought I saw a flicker, a silhouette matching the indentation of a person in my back seat. But when I blinked, it was gone. 10 minutes later, the radio came to life on its own. Static first, then a distorted voice. Almost there, Daniel. The signal broke up, warping the sound. My hands gripped the wheel, knuckles white. I tried to turn it off. Nothing. I reached to turn the dial, but the volume increased instead. The GPS recalculated again. The blue line now led me off the main road, toward a narrow dirt path cutting through trees. I hesitated. My logical mind screamed to stop, to turn back. But the blue line didn't change. It insisted. My eyes flicked to the back seat. The indentation appeared faintly, a shadow pressed into the leather. I realized I wasn't just driving. I was being guided. Not by me. Not by any human hand I could see. My hands shook as I slowly steered onto the dirt path. The headlights barely cut through the thick mist. The trees leaned over the narrow road like skeletal fingers, scratching at the roof of the car. Every crack of a branch, every rustle in the underbrush made my heart leap. I wanted to slam the brakes, turn around, scream, but something heavier than fear held me in place, like gravity pulling me forward. I checked the back seat. The indentation had grown slightly deeper. It wasn't just a shadow now, it felt solid, pressed into the leather, curving around the seatbelt as if someone had been sitting there the whole time. My stomach churned. I tried to reason with myself. It's just fatigue, just a trick of the light, just paranoia. A sudden movement caught my eye in the corner of the windshield. Something darted between the trees, too quick for a deer, too smooth for a raccoon. I blinked. Nothing. Another blink. And then I saw it again. A figure, tall and thin, standing just beyond the mist, watching me. Not moving. Not blinking. Just waiting. I swallowed hard and forced myself to focus on the road. The tires crunched over gravel, every sound amplified in the heavy silence. The GPS recalculated again. It now showed the blue line looping in impossible directions, twisting through areas I didn't recognize, places that didn't exist. I checked the app, coordinates somewhere in the middle of the woods. No landmarks. No roads. My hands tightened on the wheel. I can't stop. I can't stop. The voice from the previous night echoed faintly in my memory. Don't forget me. I hadn't, and apparently I never would. Then the radio crackled. Static. Whispered words broken up by distortion. Daniel. Keep going. My chest tightened. I reached to turn it off, but the knob wouldn't respond. The volume increased on its own, filling the car with distorted, layered whispers that seemed to come from every direction. I ducked, covering my ears, heart pounding. I glanced at the back seat. The indentation had shifted slightly closer to the center. I froze. It wasn't possible. I hadn't touched the seat. Nothing had. And yet, the shadow moved, faintly, almost imperceptibly, like it was breathing or leaning closer. A sound came from the trunk. A dull thump. My pulse spiked. I pressed the brake and the car skidded slightly on the gravel. Another thump, louder. Then, silence. My hands gripped the wheel so tightly it felt like my fingers might break. I told myself, "You're imagining it. You're imagining it." I forced myself to look up. The path ahead seemed to stretch endlessly into darkness. Mist thickened, curling around the headlights like ghostly fingers. And then I saw lights ahead. Dim, orange, flickering. A small cabin? An abandoned shack? My GPS didn't show anything, but the blue line ended there. I slowed, careful. The thumping stopped. The whispering stopped. Even my heartbeat seemed muted in the tension. I pulled closer, headlights cutting across the shack. Windows dark, door slightly ajar. And then I noticed something chilling, footprints in the gravel. Two sets, leading from the shack toward the road, and another set, smaller, pressed into the dirt behind my tires, exactly matching the shape of the back seat indentation. I froze. Cold sweat drenched my shirt. My mind raced. There's no one there. This isn't possible. I'm hallucinating. But the footprints were real. Mud clung to my tires. Dust from the gravel scattered around them. I considered running. Just floor it and disappear into the highway. But as I pressed the accelerator, a faint tapping came from the back window. Slow, deliberate. Knuckles hitting glass. My stomach dropped. I looked in the rearview mirror. Nothing. Just my reflection and the faint shadow pressing into the seat. Then the whisper again, clearer this time. Daniel, don't forget me. I slammed the brake. The car skidded, gravel spraying. I put it in reverse, panicked, but it felt like the tires were stuck, like the gravel had become cement. I looked up. The shack seemed closer than before, impossibly closer. The footprints were gone. Only the shadow remained, pressed into the back seat, shifting slightly, as if adjusting its gaze to my trembling face. I don't remember what I thought next. Logic failed. Time failed. I only know I ended up driving home. Somehow. Keys still in hand. Car exactly where I'd parked. But when I opened the door, the smell hit me. Wet earth, cold metal, something lingering, as if it had traveled with me. And in the back seat, the indentation remained. Solid, almost waiting. I haven't driven nights since. The city feels safe now, but every streetlight flicker, every stretch of empty road, every sound of tires on asphalt makes me tense. Every time the GPS recalculates unexpectedly, I hear it. Daniel, don't forget me. Because I never will. And I know, somewhere, it never left. Even now, when I think back, it's the small things that haunted me the most. The things that didn't scream for attention but pressed at the edges of my mind. I remember the sound of the tires crunching on gravel, echoing unnaturally loud in the empty stretches of road. Every mile marker we passed seemed to flicker in my mind, bending time, stretching moments, like the highway itself had turned into some endless loop. The next night, against my better judgment, I drove again. Just driving, trying to prove to myself it had all been imagination. But as soon as I turned onto the highway, the same eerie calm returned. The lights were dimmer, the shadows longer, And then I heard it. The faint whisper before anything else. Daniel. I froze at the wheel. My fingers gripped the steering wheel until my knuckles ached. Every muscle tensed. The road stretched endlessly, lined by trees whose branches scratched at the windshield, as if trying to reach inside. The mist rolled in thicker this time, curling around the car, obscuring the edges of the road. I glanced in the rearview mirror. For a split second, I thought I saw the indentation shift, moving closer to the center of the seat. I blinked, and it was gone. But I knew it hadn't moved. My mind refused to accept that nothing was there. It had weight. It had presence. Then came the first encounter. A figure appeared suddenly in the middle of the road, just ahead, illuminated by my headlights. I slammed the brakes. My car skidded slightly, the tires crunching over gravel. The figure didn't move, didn't react, just stood there, almost transparent in the mist. My pulse was deafening in my ears. I forced myself to breathe, trying to calm down. I tapped the horn once. Nothing. Twice. Still nothing. And then, as I blinked, it disappeared. Gone. No footprints. No trace. Nothing. The radio crackled to life. Static first, then a voice, low and distorted. Almost there, Daniel. I yanked at the knobs. The static grew louder, layered, multiple voices speaking at once, some whispering my name, some counting numbers I didn't recognize. I covered my ears, heart pounding, forcing my focus on the road. The GPS recalculated. The blue line twisted off the highway into a dirt path I didn't recognize, cutting through thick woods. I froze. Part of me screamed to stop. Part of me knew I couldn't. My body moved on autopilot, steering onto the narrow path, tires crunching over loose gravel and roots. The back seat, the indentation had returned. Deeper now, more defined. It wasn't just a shadow. It had edges, contours, almost like it had taken shape while I wasn't looking. My chest tightened. Every instinct screamed danger. I thought about slamming the brakes, but the car felt heavier somehow, resistant to sudden stops. Then, movement at the edge of the headlights. Something darted between the trees, too fast to be a deer, too smooth for a raccoon. I blinked. Gone. Another blink, and it was there again, just standing, tall and thin, watching. No features, just a dark shape, as if the mist itself had taken form. I tried to ignore it, focused on the path. But every instinct in my body screamed that I wasn't alone. The whisper returned, faint but clear. Daniel, don't forget me. I glanced down at the app. The destination had changed again. Not to a street address, just a point in the middle of the woods. I reached to override it. The knob didn't respond. The screen glitched, flashing between maps, satellite views, and coordinates that didn't exist. A tapping sound came from the back window. Slow, deliberate, knuckles hitting glass. My stomach dropped. I turned to the rearview mirror. Nothing, just my reflection. But I could feel it, pressure in the back seat. The weight, the presence. I hit the brakes again, trying to shake it off, but the car resisted, moving forward like it had a will of its own. The trees leaned closer. Shadows twisted unnaturally. I thought I saw branches brush against the windows, but when I blinked, nothing touched them. Then the headlights ahead, dim, orange, flickering. A small cabin, abandoned, I think. The blue line on the GPS ended there. The car slowed on its own as if acknowledging the destination. I stared at the back seat. The indentation was now deep, almost solid. I could swear I heard breathing. I stepped out cautiously, heart racing, leaving the engine running. The air was thick, cold, metallic, like something was pressing down on my chest. I walked around the car, checking the windows, the back seat. Nothing, but the feeling remained. Waiting, watching, and then I saw footprints. 2 sets leading from the cabin toward the road, and another set behind my tires, matching the exact shape of the indentation in the back seat. I backed away, panic surging. The whispers grew louder, echoing in my mind. Daniel, don't forget me. I ran back to the car, jumped in, slammed the doors. I looked in the rearview. Nothing. The blue line on the GPS blinked and recalculated. And just like that, the cabin, the footprints, the figures, all gone. I drove home, exhausted, terrified, heart pounding. The indentation remained. Every time I glanced in the rearview, it shifted slightly, reminding me I was never alone. I haven't driven nights since. I haven't taken a passenger. But sometimes, when the streets are empty and the city quiet, I hear it again. Faint, deliberate, soft as a breath. Daniel, don't forget me. The following nights, I found myself driving again. Not for work, not for errands, just driving. I couldn't stop. Every empty street, every silent highway seemed to pull me toward him, toward that presence that had imprinted itself in my car, my mind, my very perception of the road. The GPS still flickered unpredictably, sometimes recalculating into areas I didn't recognize. The blue line twisted through the darkness like a river of light through shadow, guiding me forward. The fog rolled in thick, clinging to the asphalt, curling around my tires. Every sound was amplified, the tires on the wet road, the wind scraping across the roof, distant animals I couldn't identify. I drove slowly, cautiously, senses straining. I couldn't look away from the back seat. The indentation remained. Deep, solid, pressing, almost like it had a consciousness. A shadow flickered across the rearview mirror. I froze. A figure standing at the edge of the mist, watching. Not moving, just watching. I blinked, and it was gone. I pressed the accelerator, heart hammering, but my car seemed heavier, resistant, as if the road itself was slowing me down. The radio crackled to life again, soft static, then a voice. Distorted, layered. Daniel, keep going. The volume increased on its own. I tried to turn it off. Knobs didn't respond. The sound filled the car from all sides, voices overlapping, whispering my name, counting numbers I didn't recognize, speaking in tones I couldn't place. I ducked, hands over my ears, forcing focus on the road ahead. The path narrowed. Trees leaned over like ribs, scratching at the roof. Branches tapped the windows. The blue line on the GPS led me further into the forest, down paths that didn't exist, twisting and looping impossibly. I tried to override it. Nothing. The line pulsed, guiding me forward. Then I felt it, the back seat shifting. The indentation grew, more defined, like someone was moving just behind me. I turned slightly. Nothing. But the pressure against my back, against the seat, remained. My chest tightened. I tried to breathe, to reason, but every logical thought was drowned by fear. A figure appeared ahead on the dirt path. Dim, orange light reflecting off it. Or maybe it was the mist. I slammed the brakes. My tires skidded over gravel. The figure didn't move, didn't react. I leaned on the horn. Nothing. I blinked. Gone. Then came the tapping from the back window. Slow, deliberate. I whipped around in panic. Nothing. The shadow in the seat shifted again, leaning closer, pressing down, heavy with presence. I swallowed hard, my pulse pounding. I drove on, tense, every muscle on edge. Every mile marker, every flickering streetlight, every bend in the road seemed to twist time, stretching seconds into eternity. Then I saw movement at the edge of the headlights, a figure darting through the trees. Too fast for a deer, too smooth for a raccoon. It stopped suddenly, standing tall and thin, almost featureless, watching. The whisper came again, clearer this time. Daniel, don't forget me. My hands gripped the wheel until my fingers ached. I wanted to run, to scream, to escape, but the car moved forward on its own, guided by some unseen force. The road twisted, the mist thickened, trees scraping the roof. And then, the lights ahead, a small cabin. Abandoned, flickering orange lights. The blue line ended there. I slowed, heart hammering. The backseat indentation now looked almost human. Solid. Waiting. Pressing down slightly, like it knew I was watching. My stomach dropped. I stepped out. Air thick and cold, metallic. My pulse in my ears. I walked around the car cautiously. Nothing moved. The cabin windows dark. The door slightly ajar. Footprints appeared in the gravel. 2 sets from the cabin to the road. 1 set behind my tires, matching the back seat indentation. I backed away, heart racing. Whispers filled my mind. I ran back to the car, slammed the doors. The engine roared to life, as if waking from sleep. I glanced in the rear view. Nothing. The cabin, the footprints, the figures, all vanished. I drove home in a daze. Keys in hand. Car parked. The indentation remained. Every glance in the rear view made me flinch. It moved subtly, pressing, waiting, reminding me that I wasn't alone. Every streetlight flicker, every stretch of empty road, every distant sound in the city makes me tense. Every time the GPS recalculates unexpectedly, I hear it. Soft, deliberate, calm. Daniel, don't forget me. And I never will. The highway remembers. The road never forgets. Some passengers never leave. The nights after that, I couldn't resist. I kept driving, compelled by some force I didn't understand. The city was quiet, almost asleep, the streets empty, the occasional streetlight flickering as if warning me to stop. Every time I turned onto the highway, the feeling returned. The presence, the weight pressing down in the back seat, the whisper of my name curling in my mind. I noticed small things first. Shadows moving at the edge of my vision. Branches scraping windows when the wind wasn't strong. Mist curling unnaturally, almost like fingers reaching for the car. My pulse hammered with every bend in the road, every dark stretch where the headlights didn't reach. The GPS flickered constantly, recalculating, the blue line twisting through impossible routes, leading me further into the woods, into paths that didn't exist. I tried to override it once. The knob spun uselessly in my hands. The line pulsed, insisting, guiding me. The car felt heavier, sluggish, as if some unseen force had taken hold of the steering. I glanced in the rear view. The indentation had grown. Solid, pressed down as if someone, or something, was sitting there. The air felt thick around me, heavy, almost alive. A sudden movement caught my eye in the fog. Something darted across the road, a dark shape, too quick for a deer. I slammed on the brakes. Tires skidded across gravel and dirt. I leaned forward, searching, heart pounding. The shape vanished. Only the faint whisper remained. Daniel, don't forget me. The radio crackled again. Static first, low and heavy, then layered voices, overlapping, whispering my name, counting numbers I didn't recognize. The volume increased on its own. I pressed every knob, tried to turn it off. Nothing worked. The sound filled the car, echoing from every direction. I ducked my head, trying to force my attention on the road, but every instinct screamed that I was not alone. Then came the backseat shifting. The indentation deepened. I could feel weight pressing behind me, moving slightly, almost breathing. I turned, saw nothing, but the pressure persisted. Every nerve in my body screamed danger. I tried to reason, tried to convince myself it was exhaustion, hallucination, a trick of the fog and headlights. It wasn't. The road narrowed further, trees leaning over like ribs. Branches scratched the roof of the car. I caught movement at the edge of my headlights. Another figure, tall and thin, standing in the mist. Not moving, just watching. I froze. Blinked. Gone. Whispers again, clearer this time. Daniel, keep driving. My hands gripped the wheel until the knuckles cracked. I wanted to flee, to run. But the car moved on its own, guided by some force I couldn't see. The GPS pulsed, pushing me forward. Then the lights ahead. Dim, flickering orange. A cabin. Abandoned. The blue line ended there. I slowed. My chest tightened. The backseat indentation was solid now, almost human in its form. Pressing down, waiting. I stepped out, the air thick and metallic. Footsteps? No. Footprints appeared in the gravel, two leading from the cabin, one behind my tires matching the seat indentation. I ran back to the car, slammed the doors. The engine roared. I looked in the rear view. Nothing. The cabin, footprints, figures, gone. I drove home, exhausted, trembling, mind frayed. The indentation remained. Every glance in the rear view made me flinch. Every streetlight, every stretch of empty road, every faint sound in the city reminded me. It never left. And then I started noticing other things. Small, subtle signs. A shadow that didn't match anything. Reflections in windows when there was nothing there. A soft tap on the car roof when no one was around. The indentation in the back seat shifted on its own sometimes, even when the car was parked. My phone occasionally buzzed with a single message. Daniel, don't forget me. No sender, no timestamp. Just that line. Even now, during the day, I feel it. Pressure in the back seat, faint but present. A whisper at the edge of my mind. When I drive, even for a short distance, I catch fleeting glimpses of shapes in mirrors, shadows just at the corner of my vision, moving impossibly fast, disappearing before I can focus. The road doesn't forgive. It remembers. Every mile, every stretch of asphalt, every flickering streetlight is etched into memory. And some passengers, some never leave. Even with the lights on, the city bustling, I feel it sometimes in the hum of traffic, in the vibration of my tires. The blue line still appears in my dreams, twisting through impossible paths, leading me somewhere I don't want to go. And always, always, I hear it whisper my name, calm, deliberate, chilling. Daniel, don't forget me. I haven't driven at night for months. I avoid the highways. I avoid empty streets. But I know it's still there, waiting, watching. And one day, if I ever drive again, it will be in the back seat, solid, waiting, reminding me that the road never forgets, and neither does it. The highway is alive. The asphalt remembers every tire, every motion, every secret. And some passengers never really leave. Even now, I can feel it behind me. Always behind me. Pressing. Waiting. Daniel, don't forget me. After that night, I stopped thinking in terms of normal. Days and nights blurred. Every time I saw headlights on an empty street, my stomach tightened. Every time I passed a flickering streetlight, I instinctively checked the back seat. Even parked in my own driveway, the car felt alive, waiting. The indentation had deepened over time, pressing into the leather as if whatever it was had grown heavier, more substantial. I couldn't resist. I kept driving. Not for work, just to confront it. I had to know. The city's quiet streets became my testing ground. Every turn a gamble. I drove through industrial areas where abandoned warehouses loomed like forgotten ghosts. I drove through empty residential streets, mist curling at the edges of the road, shadows stretching unnaturally. Every time I blinked, I thought I saw movement in the trees, along the sidewalk, at the edge of my headlights. The blue line on the GPS guided me deeper. It recalculated constantly, twisting the path into impossible directions. Dirt paths appeared out of nowhere, leading through thick woods, winding in ways I didn't recognize. I tried to ignore it, tried to turn back, but the car moved as if guided by something else. The whisper returned, soft at first, then layered, echoing in my mind. Daniel, keep going. My hands gripped the wheel until my knuckles cracked. My pulse pounded in my ears. I tried to breathe, tried to force my mind to focus on the ordinary. But ordinary had no place here. The backseat shifted. The indentation deepened, pressing like a weight that wasn't just physical, but mental. My chest tightened. Every nerve screamed. I glanced in the mirror. Shadows danced in the corner of my vision. Figures appeared and vanished at the edge of the headlights. Tall, thin, featureless, impossibly fast. Watching. Waiting. The radio came alive, static first, then distorted whispers. Voices overlapping, some calling my name, some counting numbers I couldn't recognize. I tried to turn it off. Nothing worked. The sound enveloped the car, coming from every direction at once. I ducked, hands over my ears, forcing my focus on the road. I rounded a bend, and suddenly the road disappeared into thick fog. My headlights barely penetrated it. I slowed, squinting, heart racing. The GPS pulsed, guiding me forward into the mist. I could feel it behind me now, a pressure that pressed against my spine, deep and suffocating. The seat beneath me felt solid, almost alive. A figure appeared in the fog ahead. I slammed the brakes. The tires skidded on gravel. The figure didn't move, didn't react, just stood there, tall and thin, watching. Blinked, and it was gone. I could feel my heart hammering in my chest. Then came the tapping at the back window. Slow, deliberate. Knuckles against glass. My stomach dropped. I whipped around. Nothing. The shadow in the seat shifted again, leaning closer, pressing down, heavy with intent. I pressed forward, gripping the wheel until my hands ached. The road twisted, thick mist curling around the car, branches scratching the roof. My pulse echoed in my ears. Then, a faint light ahead, dim, flickering, orange. A cabin. Abandoned. The blue line ended there. I stepped out, heart pounding, air thick, metallic. Footprints appeared in the gravel, two leading from the cabin to the road, one set behind my tires, matching the shape of the back seat indentation. I backed away. Whispers filled my mind, louder, urgent. Daniel, don't forget me. I ran back to the car, slammed the doors. The engine roared awake. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Nothing. The cabin, footprints, figures, all vanished. Driving home, I kept glancing at the rearview mirror. The indentation remained. Every flicker of streetlight, every stretch of empty road, every distant sound reminded me it hadn't left. Even now, I can feel it behind me, pressing down, watching, waiting. The city became a maze of shadows. Every quiet street, every abandoned lot, every flickering light carries a weight. The road remembers. And some passengers never leave. Even when the sun rises, even when the streets bustle with life, I can feel it. The back seat, the indentation, the pressure. Waiting, watching, whispering my name, calm, deliberate, chilling. Daniel, don't forget me. The highway is alive. It doesn't forgive. It remembers everything. Every tire mark, every secret, every late-night drive. And some passengers never really leave. Even now, I feel it. Pressing, waiting, close behind me. Every time I drive. Every time I blink. Every time I think I'm alone. Daniel, don't forget me. The road has its own memory, and it will always remember me. The nights became longer. The streets became emptier. The city, once familiar, felt alien, alive in ways I didn't understand. I drove again and again, compelled by some force I couldn't name. Every turn, every stretch of asphalt, every flickering streetlight pulled me forward, as if the road itself were breathing, waiting, aware of me. The mist rolled thick and low, curling around the tires, clinging to the edges of the car like fingers reaching for metal. Shadows seemed to move at the corners of my eyes. Branches scraped against the roof, though no wind blew. Every sound, the tires on gravel, the hum of the engine, the distant crack of a branch, was amplified, unnatural, wrong. The GPS pulsed. The blue line twisted into roads I didn't recognize, dirt paths cutting through woods, narrow lanes looping impossibly. I tried to override it. The knob wouldn't respond. The line glowed brighter, insisting, guiding me forward. My pulse thundered. My hands ached on the wheel. The back seat shifted. The indentation deepened, solid, pressing. My chest tightened. Every instinct screamed danger. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Shadows danced at the edges, flickering, twisting. Figures appeared and vanished in an instant. Tall, thin, featureless, impossible in speed. Watching, waiting. The whisper returned, soft at first, then layered, echoing in my mind. Daniel, keep going. I tried to reason, tried to force logic. But logic had no place here. The car moved on its own, following the path, guided by something unseen. Then, movement ahead. A figure appeared in the fog. Dim, tall, faceless. I slammed the brakes. Tires skidded on gravel. The figure didn't react, didn't blink. I leaned on the horn. Silence. Blinked and gone. Tapping at the back window. Slow. Deliberate. Knuckles against glass. My stomach dropped. I whipped around. Nothing. The shadow in the back seat pressed closer, heavier. I could feel it like a weight against my spine. The road twisted. The trees leaned, branches scraping the roof. The GPS pulsed. A faint light ahead, dim, flickering orange. A cabin. Abandoned. The blue line ended there. I stepped out, heart hammering, air thick and metallic. Footprints appeared in the gravel, two leading from the cabin to the road, one set behind my tires, matching the indentation in the back seat. Whispers filled my mind. Daniel, don't forget me. I ran back to the car, slammed the doors. Engine roared awake. Rearview mirror, nothing. Cabin, footprints, figures, all gone. I drove home in a daze. Keys in hand. Car parked. The indentation remained. Solid. Pressing. Watching. Even days later, I noticed the smallest things. A shadow in the corner of my vision, reflections in windows that didn't belong, soft taps on the roof when I was alone. Every flicker of streetlight, every stretch of empty road, every distant sound made my stomach twist. The nights grew worse. Sometimes the radio would turn on, static first, then whispers, layered, speaking my name, counting numbers I couldn't recognize. I'd slam knobs, try to turn it off. Nothing worked. The sound filled the car from every direction. I ducked, heart hammering, trying to force focus on the road. The GPS began recalculating in real time, twisting paths into impossible loops, guiding me deeper into the woods, paths that didn't exist. I felt the back seat pressing harder. Shadows flickered. Figures appeared and vanished at the edge of my headlights. Tall, thin, impossible, faceless. Watching, waiting. I stopped trying to resist. I drove. Forward. Always forward. Mist curling, branches scraping, whispering in my mind, "Daniel, don't forget me." Sometimes I saw footprints appear out of nowhere, leading from abandoned buildings, from shadows, from the edges of the road, always matching the indentation in the back seat. I pressed forward, shaking, heart in my throat, unable to stop, unable to escape. Even now, the car waits. The back seat presses. Shadows flicker. Every empty street, every highway, every flicker of light reminds me. It never leaves. The road remembers. The highway never forgives. And some passengers never really go away. Even parked, even lit, even surrounded by the city, I feel it. Pressing, watching, whispering my name. "Daniel, don't forget me." The road is alive. It remembers. And I can't escape. The indentation shifts slightly. Solid. Waiting. Always waiting. "Daniel, don't forget me." The night is endless. The highway stretches forever. And I am never alone. The night stretched on, endless and oppressive. Every time I stepped into the car, it felt alive, waiting for me to start the engine. Even the familiar streets seemed different, twisted somehow, shadows stretching longer than they should, corners bending like the asphalt itself was breathing. I drove without purpose, drawn forward by the weight in the back seat, the solid indentation that pressed against the leather like a living thing. Mist rolled in from nowhere, curling around the tires and the edges of the windshield. The trees leaned close over the narrow roads, skeletal fingers scratching the roof, tapping the windows, whispering secrets I couldn't hear but felt in my bones. Every sound was amplified. The crunch of gravel under tires, the distant hum of a street lamp, the faint rustle of leaves. Even the air itself seemed to vibrate with something unseen. The GPS flickered constantly, blue line twisting through impossible directions, leading me off the main roads into paths that didn't exist. I tried to resist, tried to turn back. The knob spun uselessly. The car moved on its own, guided by something I couldn't see. The whispers returned, soft at first, then layered, echoing in my mind. "Daniel, keep going, don't stop, don't forget me." The backseat shifted. The indentation deepened, pressing harder, solid now, almost human in form. My chest tightened. Every nerve screamed danger. I glanced in the rearview mirror. Shadows flickered, twisted, danced. Figures appeared and vanished at the edges of my headlights. Tall, thin, featureless. Watching, waiting. Then the first encounter. A figure appeared directly in the middle of the dirt road, dimly lit by my headlights. I slammed the brakes. Tires skidded on gravel. The figure didn't move, didn't blink, just stood, impossibly still. I honked. Nothing. Blinked, and it was gone. Tapping came at the back window, slow and deliberate. Knuckles against glass. My stomach dropped. I whipped around. Nothing. The shadow in the back seat pressed closer, heavier, like it was aware I was watching. I forced the car forward, twisting along the road. Branches scraped against the roof. The fog thickened. The GPS pulsed, blue line glowing brighter. Ahead, a faint flickering light appeared. An abandoned cabin, orange, dim. The blue line ended there. I stepped out, heart hammering. Air thick, metallic. Footprints appeared in the gravel, two leading from the cabin to the road, one set behind my tires, matching the back seat indentation. Whispers filled my mind. "Daniel, don't forget me." I ran back to the car, slammed the doors. Engine roared awake. Rearview mirror, nothing. Cabin, footprints, figures, all gone. I drove home in a daze. Keys in hand. Car parked. Indentation remained. Solid. Pressing. Watching. Days passed. Even during the day, I noticed subtle things. Shadows moving at the corner of my vision, reflections in windows that didn't exist, soft taps on the roof when no one was near. Every flicker of streetlight, every stretch of empty road, every distant sound made my stomach twist. The nights worsened. The radio turned on by itself, static first, then whispers layered over each other, some calling my name, some counting numbers I couldn't recognize. I slammed knobs, turned dials, nothing worked. The sound filled the car, coming from every direction. I ducked, forcing focus on the road, but every instinct screamed that I was not alone. The GPS recalculated constantly, twisting the road into impossible loops, guiding me deeper into the woods, paths that shouldn't exist. The back seat pressed harder, shadows flickered, Figures appeared and vanished at the edge of my headlights. Tall, thin, faceless. Watching. Waiting. I stopped resisting. I drove. Forward. Always forward. Mist curling, branches scraping, whispering in my mind, "Daniel, don't forget me." Sometimes, footprints appeared from nowhere, leading from abandoned buildings, from shadows, from the edges of the road, always matching the indentation in the back seat. I pressed forward, shaking, heart hammering, unable to stop, unable to escape. Even now, the car waits. The back seat presses. Shadows flicker. Every empty street, every highway, every flicker of light reminds me it hasn't left. Even parked, even in daylight, I feel it. The back seat, the indentation, the weight, pressing down, watching, whispering my name. "Daniel, don't forget me." The road is alive. It doesn't forgive. It remembers. Every mile, every stretch of asphalt, every flickering light. And some passengers never leave. Even now, I can feel it. Pressing, waiting, close behind me. Every time I drive. Every time I blink. Every time I think I'm alone. "Daniel, don't forget me." The night is endless. The highway stretches forever. And I am never alone. The indentation shifts slightly. Solid. Waiting. Always waiting. The road whispers my name. And I will never forget it. The final night came without warning. The city was silent, but I didn't feel relief. The streets seemed to breathe around me, the asphalt pulsing faintly beneath the tires. I didn't drive for a reason anymore. I drove because I couldn't stop, because the backseat waited. The GPS lit up, blue line twisting impossibly. Paths appeared that shouldn't exist, through woods, over empty fields, under bridges that weren't on any map. I gripped the wheel until my knuckles cracked. Mist rolled in thick, curling around the car, filling every crack, every crevice, pressing cold and damp against my skin. Shadows danced at the edge of the headlights, flickering just beyond recognition. The back seat pressed harder than ever. Solid, heavy, real. I could feel its weight pressing against my spine, the indentation now perfectly human in shape. I tried to reason with myself, tried to force logic, but logic had abandoned me long ago. A figure appeared in the fog ahead, tall and thin, faceless, its presence radiating something cold and impossibly patient. I slammed the brakes. Tires skidded on gravel. The figure didn't move, didn't blink, just waited. I honked. Silence. I blinked, and it vanished. The radio crackled violently. Static first, then whispers overlapping, layered, every voice calling my name, counting numbers, speaking in tones I didn't understand. The volume grew until it vibrated through the car itself. I slammed every knob. Nothing. The sound filled the space, coming from everywhere and nowhere. The mist thickened so much that the headlights barely penetrated it. Branches scraped against the roof like fingernails. Shadows twisted unnaturally, dancing at the edges of the windows. I forced the car forward, every nerve screaming. Then came the first signs of the final trap. The blue line on the GPS led me to an intersection that didn't exist before. Two paths diverged into darkness, both twisting into the trees, both pulsing faintly blue. I stopped. The back seat pressed down harder. The whisper came again. "Daniel, don't forget me." I tried to step out. The doors wouldn't open. My fingers shook, pounding the handles. The back seat pressed harder, almost alive, shifting beneath me. Shadows moved across the windshield. Figures appeared at the edges of my headlights, tall, faceless, impossibly fast. They didn't move toward me, but they didn't need to. The weight in the back seat was enough. I floored the accelerator. The tires skidded, the car shaking violently. The GPS pulsed like a heartbeat. The mist churned around me. Whispers grew louder, closer, in my ears, in my mind. "Daniel, don't forget me, don't stop." Then, the first collision. Not with a figure, not with the road. With the air itself. The mist thickened so quickly it felt solid, pressing, constricting. I could feel invisible hands brushing against the car, scraping, grabbing, pulling. My chest tightened. I gasped. The back seat indentation rose, a solid form now, stretching upward, twisting slightly, humanoid, impossibly tall. I could see its outline in the faint glow of the dashboard. Its head leaned forward, face faceless, whispering my name over and over. I screamed. My voice echoed in the car. The GPS pulsed again. The blue line curved upward, into the mist, into impossibility. The car followed. Tires skidded, gravel flew. Shadows twisted and danced. I realized the path wasn't on Earth anymore. It was somewhere else. Somewhere the road had led only those who couldn't resist. Then came the voices. Hundreds, thousands. Whispering my name, laughing softly, calling me forward. Daniel, don't forget me. Come, join, never leave. I tried to stop. I slammed the brakes. Tires spun uselessly. The car lurched forward anyway. The back seat pressed with all its weight, solid, real, alive. I was trapped. The mist swallowed the headlights. Shadows crowded in. I could feel the eyes behind me, faceless, watching. And then, a final moment. The car hit a clearing. The mist parted just enough for me to see. A highway stretching endlessly into darkness, but twisted, impossible. Shadows lined the edges, standing silently, waiting. The blue line pulsed straight into it. The back seat rose fully, solid, humanoid now. I could feel breath, cold and metallic, on the back of my neck. The whispers became a roar. Daniel, don't forget me. Join us, never leave. I pressed the accelerator. Tires skidded. The figures didn't move toward me. The back seat pressed down harder. I could feel their weight. I could hear hundreds of whispers in my mind. I closed my eyes for a moment. When I opened them, the dashboard lit up. GPS recalculated again. Mist swirled, then cleared. The back seat was empty. The indentation gone. Shadows gone. The streetlight ahead flickered in the ordinary city night. My apartment was in sight. I slowed, trembling, heart hammering. But even parked in my driveway, even with the engine off, the feeling didn't leave. The car waited. The air pressed down. I felt it still in the back seat. Watching, waiting, whispering softly just for me. Daniel, don't forget me. And I know I never will. The road is alive. It remembers. And some passengers never leave. Even now, every time I hear the hum of tires on asphalt, every time a shadow crosses my path, every time a streetlight flickers, I feel it. Pressing, watching, whispering my name. The final truth is simple. You can leave the road. You can step out of the car. But the road never leaves you. And neither does it forget.